Since June 1st, 2026, 3 of the 6 listings in Discovery Bay have received an offer. The reason is simple. Short-term rentals in Kelowna are legal again. And because of the location, Discovery Bay is one of the most popular vacation rentals in Kelowna. This building was in a buyer's market for close to 3 years. The few sales that did happen during that time, they came with huge losses, and that appears to be over. If you've been thinking about buying or selling a condo in Discovery Bay, this video is for you. I'm Mark with KelownaCondos.ca, and this channel is all about the condo and townhome market. Discovery Bay, it's one of the buildings that I get the most calls on, but it's not one of the buildings that I sell the most in. Because buying a condo in Discovery Bay is hard, and most people won't qualify. Keep watching, and I'm going to explain why you might not qualify either. So let's get into it. Let me start with why this building's so popular. It's the location. Discovery Bay, it sits on Sunset Drive, and it's right on the water. Your steps from Tugboat Beach, you're also steps from restaurants, coffee shops, and entertainment. For a vacation rental, that location is a game changer. Guests, they'll pay a premium to be able to walk out their door, be at the lake, at a concert, or really anything else that you want to do. And that's why the income that some of these units generate is higher than a building like Playa del Sol. The other thing that sets this building apart are the views. The units on the west side of the building, they look over the lagoon and the lake, and the views are incredible. They're also rare. There aren't a lot of West Side units, so they don't last long when they hit the market. I recently went through the Strata documents here, and I can say this is one of the best run short-term rental buildings that I've come across. There are a handful of full-time owners here who take the management seriously. It might appear similar to every other short-term rental building that you tour or might tour. It's the things that you don't see that make this such a well-run building. So let's talk about money, because this is where Discovery Bay stands out. I'll start with what these units actually earn. I pulled the short-term rental numbers on the building from a website that tracks short-term rental stats. Because the ban was just lifted, there are only 12 active listings right now, so you want to treat this just as a small sample. But it does tell a pretty big story. The average yearly income here is $96,000. The average daily rate is about $450, with occupancy sitting around 55%. A well-run 2-bedroom and 2-bath unit, which is the most common layout here, it can earn over $100,000. One of them did $113,000 last year, and a 4-bedroom there did $248,000 last year. But here's the part that nobody really talks about. The range here is enormous. For every 2-bedroom doing $100K, there's one doing $30K in the same building. The difference is occupancy. The top performers are running at 75%. The weak ones are at 22%. And that gap, it comes down to 2 things: the guest experience and how often you're going to use it personally. The first reason is why choosing a great property manager is so important. So let's look at the strata fees. Discovery Bay is at 61 cents a square foot. So on a 1,000 square foot unit, that's about $610 a month. This is going to include everything except for your electricity and your internet. Now, here's the context that matters. This strata has come in under budget 3 years in a row. Considerably under budget. And because of that, they haven't raised the strata fees in 3 years. When I first read that they hadn't increased the strata fees in 3 years, I was suspect. After reading further though, I understood why, and I was impressed. They've still hit every reserve contribution that the depreciation report called for, but the money there is being well managed, not just collected. For comparison, Brooklyn on St. Paul is 67 cents a square foot, and that's a low amenity building. Playa del Sol, which is a similar building with full amenities, is at over 80 cents a square foot. So Discovery Bay, it gives you a great location and all the amenities with a strata fee that's well below similar buildings with the same amenities. So talking about amenities, let's look at the amenities. Discovery Bay has 2 pools. One is outdoors in the center of the amenity level. The other one is on the side, and it's an indoor-outdoor pool that you can use year-round. Not for laps, but just to relax in. There's a hot tub, there's a gym, there's a games room. This was common for vacation rentals from the early 2000s. And it's a big part of why these buildings, they don't hurt the long-term rental market. Guests and vacation owners, they want the amenities. And the amenities, they sit right in the middle of the development. And that's a great feature for most people. But it's also something to watch for if you want to be peace and quiet. And I'm going to come back to that in a minute. So here are a few things that you want to know before you start looking. First, the parking. Very few units here have 2 stalls. And there is no EV charging. Sunset Drive is busy, and the street parking there is paid with a time limit. But Manhattan Drive is a block away, and it has a lot of street parking that isn't time restricted right now. But it fills up fast because a lot of people from Sunset Drive use it. Second, and this one is an important one, the plumbing. Discovery Bay, it was originally built with Kitec plumbing, which has been known to fail. Almost every unit in the building has been replaced. But at the time of this video, there are still 5 units that haven't. And these units are racking up strata fines and probably legal costs. So if you're looking at a specific unit, you want to confirm if the Kitec has been replaced. You'll find that in the strata docs. If it hasn't, make sure you deal with it in the purchase contract. The good news is once the Kitec is fully replaced, the building's insurance costs should go down. Third, the pool deck. The pools are a huge reason why people buy here. But if you buy on the pool deck or you face it, it's gonna get loud, especially in the summer with a building full of tourists. If you don't like a lot of noise, you might want to avoid that. The alternative is buying on the outside of the building. And one more thing, consider if you want a view, the western units with the lake and lagoon views are some of the most sought after units in the building. And there aren't many of them. So if you want a unit with a great view, make sure you read the strata docs ahead of time and be ready to move fast, because in any market, they don't last. Who would I say this building's for? Well, Discovery Bay was built for the out-of-town owner who wants to vacation here and then they want to rent it out when they're not using it. But you're going to want a professional manager handling it, because running a vacation rental is hard, especially from another city. What happens when a guest has a problem at midnight or your cleaner doesn't show up right before a check-in? Both of those things are going to hurt your reviews and your income. I made a separate video on managing short-term rentals, and I'll leave a link in the description. Now, who should avoid Discovery Bay? Like a lot of condos, if you have a larger dog, this building won't work. You're allowed 1 pet, and it has to be less than 18 inches at the shoulder. If you do have a larger dog, you should take a look at Barona Beach in West Kelowna instead. It's one of the only full amenity vacation rental buildings that allow large dogs. And another thing on the construction, Discovery Bay is wood frame. For a short-term rental, that can matter because noise complaints, they often come with fines. So if a concrete building is important to you, Sunset Waterfront Resort right next door and Aqua in the Lower Mission are both concrete buildings that are also full amenity and allow short-term rentals. And here's the part that I promised from the start. The reason why most people I talk to can't buy here, it's the financing. Short-term rental buildings are very, very hard to get a mortgage on. Just because the bank tells you that you're approved for $750,000, it doesn't mean that they're going to lend on a unit in Discovery Bay or any other STR for that matter. I see this over and over. And people that I talk to, they don't believe me until the bank tells them no. If you plan to finance, you're going to want a broker who knows which lenders will actually lend on a short-term rental building. And you want to do that before you start shopping. I do have a few contacts that I know can do it, so feel free to reach out if you want an introduction. One more thing I should point out. A vacation home is a lifestyle decision. It's not really an investment. If you're using it part of the year and you're going to rent it the rest, you're probably going to be contributing money out of your own pocket every year. So make sure you factor in all the costs. It's not as simple as just taking $100,000 in income, minusing your mortgage, your condo fees, and property taxes. There are a lot of other expenses that go into it. Again, if you want to know the expenses, check out the video I did on short-term rentals. So here's a bit on the location. Discovery Bay is on Sunset Drive in Kelowna North, which sits right at the edge of downtown. You can walk to almost everything. The beach is right there, restaurants, coffee shops, and the waterfront are all minutes away on foot. Prospera Place is a block away, so concerts and events are right there too. There's even a lottery that you can put your name in for a boat slip in the lagoon right outside your front door. The one thing missing though is groceries. The closest grocery store is going to be 2 kilometers away. So you're probably going to need a car to go get groceries. Another thing, if you like the outdoors, Knox Mountain is a few minutes away, and the hiking and views up there are some of the best in the city. Living this close to downtown, it does come with issues though. There's going to be noise, there's going to be weekend traffic, and there are going to be issues with homelessness, which is something that most major cities in North America are dealing with right now. I live a few blocks from Sunset Drive, and I did a video on what it's actually been like living here with my family. I'll link it above. So here's some info on the building. Discovery Bay was built in 2002. There are 236 units, and the units, they run from a 1-bedroom to a 4-bedroom, with the most popular being 2 and 3 bedrooms. Now, I'm not going to give you recent sales data because since June 1st, the market here is changing, and any number that I give you today, it could be drastically different tomorrow. So for current pricing, check out the Discovery Bay building page on KelownaCondos.ca. I'll link it below. Well, that's Discovery Bay. Short-term rentals are legal again, and this was one of the most popular short-term rental buildings prior to the ban, and I imagine that popularity is going to be coming back. If you're thinking about a vacation rental here or anywhere in the Okanagan, the smart move is to understand the building and the math before you start your search. If you want help figuring out what the numbers would look like for you in your situation, let's chat. You'll find my calendar and contact info in the description. I'd love to hear what you think of the short-term rental ban being lifted and how it's going to affect the condo market. Drop me a comment. I read every one of them. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.